Hey everyone, welcome to week 2 of the college football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of the college football road trip at cfbroadtrip.com, and I'm super excited this week because tomorrow we head back on the road. We're heading to Syracuse, New York for this weekend's Rutgers at Syracuse game inside the Carrier Dome. I'll be giving my pick for that game at the end of today's picks. In the meantime, what a great week 1. We had a lot of really exciting games in week 1. I was a little worried because I lost my first 3 picks from last week, but I was able to circle back and win 6 of my last 7 to finish the week at 6-4 going into week 2. So with that said, let's just dive right in to the week 2 picks. We're going to start off with the team that I'll be seeing in week 3, the Buffalo Bulls. They are on the road at Nebraska. I think this is going to be a really interesting game. Obviously, Nebraska struggled in the week 0 loss to Illinois. They struggled in the first quarter against Fordham before pulling away. Buffalo, on the other hand, just destroyed Wagner. The question is, does that mean anything? And what team is going to pull away here? I think Buffalo has a strong team. I think they'll be competitive in the MAC this season, but I think they just lost a few too many pieces from last year. And I think Nebraska, now that they got through that week 0 loss, is going to kind of turn it around a little bit, at least enough to get through this week's game. So I have Nebraska winning at home over Buffalo. Our next matchup is an ACC-SEC matchup. We have NC State traveling to Mississippi State. Both of these teams won their week 1 matchup, although Mississippi State had to come back after struggling mightily with Louisiana Tech. I think that's going to be telling for this week. NC State had a little bit easier time with their week 1 win. I think they're going to be a little more competitive in the ACC than Mississippi State will be in the SEC. I think that will show this week when NC State travels to Mississippi State and pulls off the win. Our next matchup is a Sun Belt team traveling to an ACC team. We have Appalachian State traveling to 22nd ranked Miami. We all know what happened to Miami last week, getting blown out to Alabama, but that really doesn't mean anything because everybody's going to get blown out to Alabama this year. The question is, how good are they? Appalachian State always has a really strong team in the Sun Belt. They have pulled off upsets against Power 5 teams in the past. If you all remember the Michigan game, although that was many years ago, Appalachian State knows how to pull off these wins. But De'Ara King is still quarterback for Miami. They have the talent. They're going to bounce back from the loss last week and win this week's game. I have Miami winning at home over Appalachian State. Our next matchup is a Big 12 SEC matchup when 15th ranked Texas takes on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Texas struggled a little bit in the first half before pulling away. Same with Arkansas. They also struggled in the first half against Rice before pulling away. The question is, what team can do that again this week? Texas, again, brand new head coach, brand new quarterback. They're trying to get into the system. Arkansas is a little more established. They started putting things together the second half of last year. I think that will carry over this week. I think Texas will still be competitive in the Big 12 once they get a little more experience. But this week, I'm going to give the edge to Arkansas. I have Arkansas pulling off a slight upset over 15th ranked Texas. Next, let's go to an SEC matchup. We have Missouri traveling to Kentucky. This is a game I saw in Kentucky a couple years ago. It was a pretty fun game in the rain. This time around, both teams are coming in with a 1-0 record. Again, you really can never tell what that means in week 1 against lesser opponents. Whenever you have a really close matchup like this, as you know, I always seem to go with the home team with the advantage when they have the home crowd at their back. In this case, that goes to Kentucky. So I have Kentucky winning this game at home over Missouri. Next, let's go to an SEC Pac-12 matchup. We have 5th ranked Texas A&M traveling to Colorado. The SEC at the top is just a powerhouse. You have Alabama, you have Georgia, you have Texas A&M, all ranked in the top 5. That just tells you how strong the top of the SEC is. Colorado is a pretty decent team too. They were competitive in the Pac-12 South the last couple seasons. I think they'll be up there again this year, although I think they'll be behind USC and UCLA. But Texas A&M just has way too much firepower in a game like this. So I have Texas A&M winning this game pretty handily in the second half. Texas A&M winning on the road at Colorado. Next, let's go to a game that might be a little under the radar to most people, but we have 21st ranked Utah traveling to BYU, so an in-state rivalry in this one. Utah is ranked. Utah is another one of those Pac-12 teams that are kind of close to being good, but not quite at the upper echelon yet. BYU was able to go on the road last week and beat a Pac-12 team in Arizona, but Utah is a little bit stronger than Arizona. It's an in-state rivalry, so you know that's going to be competitive. I think this will be a close game going into the second half. Utah will have just a little too much and pull away in the end. I have 21st ranked Utah winning at BYU. Next, let's go to the Cy-Hawk game. This is going to be an amazing matchup this week. We have 10th ranked Iowa traveling to 9th ranked Iowa State. This might be the highest ranked Cy-Hawk game ever, at least as long as I can remember. Iowa coming off their huge win against Indiana where they just dominated. Iowa State struggling against Northern Iowa last week. They always tend to struggle a little bit at the beginning of the season. They can't struggle this week because Iowa is just a really strong team. They're looking good. I think they're going to be competitive in the Big Ten. Iowa State's going to be really competitive in the Big 12. But again, because they seem to struggle so much at the beginning of the year, I have to give the edge to Iowa in this one. The Hawkeyes, I have Iowa winning on the road at Iowa State this week. Next, let's go to what I'm calling the matchup of the week. We have Oregon traveling to number 3 Ohio State. Oregon was supposed to be a really good team. They're supposed to be in the top 10. This is supposed to be a great game. I still think it will be a good game. But after Oregon struggles against Fresno State last week, they can't have those same struggles against a team like Ohio State, especially on the road. Ohio State is one of those teams that always find a way to pull ahead. They always find a way to dominate. They're going to do it again this week. Oregon will keep it close for about a quarter and a half, and then Ohio State will pull away in the second half. I have Ohio State winning pretty big at home over Oregon. So now let's go to the game I'm going to be at this week. It should be actually a pretty decent game, not because both teams are highly ranked, but because they're basically on the same level. Teams that are trying to find their footing, trying to start their way to be competitive in their respective conferences. Rutgers out of the ACC, Syracuse out of the ACC. Both of these teams are coming off pretty big wins last week, although both of them were against lesser opponents. This could be a game that goes either way, obviously. It's going to go into the second half. In the end, Syracuse is still coming off a season where they struggled really, really mightily. Rutgers had a little bit easier time in week 1. They're going to be a little more competitive in the Big Ten than Syracuse will be in the ACC. Because of that, I have to give the edge to the road team in this one. I have Rutgers coming into the Carrier Dome and winning at Syracuse in a game I am excited to be at because I will be at a football game for the first time in 2 years. So again, I'm really excited to be on the road, checking out a lot of the events, checking out a lot of great places to eat and dine in Syracuse. I'll be posting about everything I do in Syracuse over the next couple of weeks. So be ready to go and check it out on my website, cfbroadtrip.com. In the meantime, go have a great week 2 of games, and we will see you again next week.